Chapter 23. Okay, so we have the church booked and the pastor taken care of, Tanya said as she tapped the pen against the paper. What am I missing? Invitations, Jess said. I know we're calling people since it's such short notice, but I'd still like to send out traditional invitations to your friends and family since we have a few weeks, and I'd like to have one as a keepsake. What about your friends and family? Tanya asked. We can send one to my mom, Jess answered. But all my friends are the people I've met this year, and I don't know their dorm addresses, except Emily's, and that's only because it's my address too. Besides, most are probably home on break, and I don't even know where all of them call home. Okay then, Tanya said, scratching the pen across the paper. We'll have 50 made to send out to our side of the family. That leaves cake, Kendra answered, entering the room. She had a bag of carrots in her hand. Jess bit back a smile because over the last few days she had learned Kendra was obsessed with food. Jess rarely saw her without something in her hand, though it was usually healthy. And on the few occasions she wasn't eating, she was chomping on gum. Right, cake, Tanya said, adding it to the list. We can visit some shops today and taste some. I'm not sure if they'll be backed up, so we better do it as soon as possible. Also, flowers. I'm not sure what you had in mind, but we should look into those quickly, too. Jess had no idea what she had in mind. She had honestly never thought about marriage after her mother's failed attempts, so there had been no girly daydreams growing up. And she'd only been engaged for 5 days, so she'd had little time to think of what she wanted. But she understood the need to rush the planning. She and Chad had agreed they wanted to have the wedding before the baby's birth, and that pretty much left weekends, spring break, or the rest of winter break. Doing it on a weekend had just seemed too hectic, and Jess had opted for winter break over spring break so that she wouldn't be huge walking down the aisle. Though most of her friends already knew about the baby, she still fought the emotions of feeling like people were judging her, and getting married while she was still only slightly showing would help with that. Plus, since college breaks were longer, it gave them nearly a month to plan the wedding before classes started again. Can we look at a dress too? Jess asked quietly. I don't have much money, but hopefully there is a rental store or something around here that I can afford. Tanya put down the pen and crossed to Jess. Actually, my dear, Frank and I would like to buy your dress as a wedding gift to you. Oh, I couldn't let you do that, Jess said. No, we want to. It was always our plan to pay for the honeymoon, but since it seems you two won't be having one right away, we would like to do this instead. Jess shook her head. I don't know what to say. Say thank you, Kendra said, and then chomped down on her carrot stick. Thank you, Jess said, blinking back the tears that had suddenly filled her eyes. Chad walked in as Jess ran a hand across her eyes. Hey, what's this? I thought this was going to be a happy day. It is, Jess said. Your mom offered to buy my dress. A feeling of deep gratitude filled Chad, and he mouthed a silent thank you at his mother. He knew Jess had little money, and her mother was still getting on her feet. Sweet. When do we go? You can't go with her to pick the dress, Kendra said. You can't see the bride before the wedding, remember? So I'm stuck here all day while you have all the fun, he asked. No, you can come with us to pick the cake, flowers, and invitations, his mother said. Then you can do something else while we pick the dress. Sounds good, Chad said. Ever since their big conversation and the proposal 5 days ago, Chad hadn't wanted to let Jess out of his sight. Though he knew it was unfounded, a tiny piece of him worried she would change her mind and run away. He had been glad when she opted for the quick wedding. Great. Are we ready now? Kendra asked. I could use some cake. Chad and Jess shared a glance and snickered. What? Kendra asked. What's so funny? Nothing, Chad said. Telling her would ruin the fun of teasing her. Let's go, his mother said, glancing at her watch. It's after 10 already, and we have a lot to do. It was after 4 by the time the group made it to the dress shop. Chad had excused himself to get a cup of coffee from the nearby cafe, while the girls picked out a dress. An older woman with a kind face approached them as they entered. Hello, my name is Angela. What can I do for you today? She asked. We're in need of a dress, Tanya said. Of course, the woman said, looking at Kendra. Congratulations. What are you, about a 6? Oh, it's not for me, Kendra said with a laugh. It's for my soon-to-be sister-in-law, Jess here." The woman turned her attention to Jess. While her eyes held no condemnation, Jess felt as if the woman was examining her. "You're with child, are you not?" "I am," Jess said softly, wanting to sink into the floor. Was this woman about to chide her for sex outside of marriage? Angela smiled and reached for Jess's hand. "Congratulations, my dear. Now, you seem young. Am I right that money might be limited?" "I'll be covering the cost of the dress," Tanya said. "Wonderful. I believe I have just the thing. Come with me." Jess followed her to the right side of the store where rows of wedding dresses hung from metal bars. "Let's see," Angela said, flipping through dresses. "I bet you're a 6, right?" "Well, maybe before the pregnancy," Jess said. "We can adjust for that," Angela said. Here it is. I designed this custom wedding dress for a client, but she canceled the wedding. I couldn't give her a refund as it was a custom order, but I can give you a discount on it." She pulled out a long white satin gown and handed it to Jess. "There's a dressing room right there," Angela said, pointing to a pink door. "Why don't you go try it on and see how it looks?" Jess took the dress into the room, slipped off her clothes, and pulled the dress over her head. It was a simple dress that hung in a clean silhouette from her shoulders to her toes. The leaves were a sheer fabric, and a small line of pearls lined the neck of the dress. At her feet, the dress pooled in a white billow of fabric. A look in the mirror elicited a small gasp from Jess. Though her baby bump was visible in the dress, the overall effect was stunning and drew the eye away from her midsection. Jess had never felt more beautiful. With tentative fingers, she opened the door and stepped out for the others to see. "Oh, Jess," Tanya said with a sigh, "you are indeed a vision." "It's perfect," Kendra agreed. "I knew it," Angela said. Her hands were clasped together under her chin, and a wide smile lit up her face. "We'll take it," Tanya said.